Hey everyone. So if you're familiar with the brand My Arcade, you probably know them best for these little arcade machines. They started with the generic ones and then they made the licensed ones from Namco and so forth, and they're pretty cool. They mostly have, well, they're mostly known for having like the Famicom ROMs running on these machines, which is fine. You won't see anything bad about that. But I sort of read that up because one of their most recent products really ties in with this theme of running Famicom ROMs because they've made a Famicom cartridge adapter for your NES. Now, if you're familiar with these sort of adapters in the past, you're probably more likely to know them this style right here that I have from, this is the one I got from Hyperkin that I've married to this Retrobit machine. I've showed this off before. You know, the cartridge goes on top and it's got a ribbon. And the idea is you stick this in your NES, the ribbon hangs out and you pull the ribbon. Well, that's not going to work on my NES machine really because it's got very tight pins in there. And of course, that's the reason why I sort of married this to this clone. Now, of course, I do have an original Famicom that I showed off in my last video that I really like having. Now, there's only really 2 or 3 problems with this, one of which is the jail bars, slight jail bars. It's not a huge problem, but they're noticeable. It's part of the nature of the video mod, as I understand it. You can shield one of the chips inside. It's a whole deal. I'm not sure if I really feel up to doing that. But the big problem, of course, is just the cord length. Now I've actually sort of unspooled it a little bit from the pin, like there's a little peg inside that the wire gets wrapped around. So this is actually even a little bit longer. I can't really show it off on the camera very well, but this is not a very long cord. These are notoriously short cords. And so for modern gaming, this is not the ideal solution, especially since for my NES, I've gotten the 8-bit DOE wireless receiver and the controller, the NES Classic modded controller. So this means to run original hardware, Bluetooth wireless controller, which is sort of ideal. So if you want to run Famicom carts on your NES, you're going to want an adapter, and this is the sort of adapter that I've always sort of wanted. I'm always surprised. This is the first time I've seen an adapter of this style ever. I don't know if they've ever been commercially available like this before, but this one is basically shaped like a cartridge, an NES cartridge. So it doesn't have the ribbon. It's got a proper plastic, handle on it. And basically the way it works is, you notice the bottom part, this is the back part, which is empty. And so you slip that in there like that. So you sort of pivot it a little bit. But the nice thing is it actually has the Famicom cover artwork on the front instead of facing backwards. Because if you use the other style converter, the labels always go up facing forward. And then you just pop this in, just like a regular cartridge. And I found it to be a little bit of a tight fit, like in terms of, like the back edge kind of slightly comes into contact, but it doesn't seem to affect anything. It actually it works fine, it's in there. And the important thing is, I can get it out, no problem, no ribbon. This is much, much easier. It's fairly sturdy, like I wouldn't play a Frisbee with this. Like you can see why maybe they haven't really tried this style of adapter before, because the plastic is not super thick here, and it really can't be, but it's solid enough. And I think that if you treat this well enough, it'll certainly serve the purpose. So just to cap this off, let's actually put this in the NES and fire it up on the TV and play some Mega Man on a proper NES with a wireless controller. Yep, Rockman 5, something. What was it? The Mystery of Proto Man? I don't remember what the title is exactly in the Japanese version. So yeah, I did a video on Rockman 5 a little while back, probably a while back now. And of course, I did that on the Retrobit clone. Now, I swear, I think if I had this adapter when I started, this is probably the way I would have actually recorded all those videos. I mean, there's no getting around the fact that composite video does not look great, and I still don't love it, even with the NES or either way, Famicom NES. This TV doesn't love the composite video signal. But there's no getting around the fact that the Retrobit system doesn't do the sound and colors 100% correctly, and that certainly bugs. It'll get to you, especially if you do a lot of side-by-side comparisons. If you get used to playing on the original hardware, any changes like that definitely rub you the wrong way. So I don't blame people for steering clear of those clones. I don't know why they don't improve those chips. because the video signals at this point are really good. So you give up the HDMI with original hardware, but original hardware is original hardware. I mean, that's why people like to play it on. And I love having the wireless controller now on my NES. So this is pretty much the ideal way to play, even if I'm not playing ideally at the moment. And I played a lot of this game recently, actually, because I sort of, I knew I was getting this adapter, so I wanted to get a taste for the, how the composite video looked through the original Famicom, to sort of compare it to the NES. And obviously, I mean, it's the same, but it's the quality of the video signal coming natively from the hardware on the NES compared to my mod on the Famicom. I think it's a little bit better on this. Not much of a difference, but enough where I definitely prefer this compared to what I get on my Famicom. I'm stumbling a little bit. I'm sort of dividing my attention from playing and showing this off, which really shouldn't matter. This is just to show off the fact that the adapter works. Obviously, it works. It's cool. And I think we should probably wrap this up before I embarrass myself much further. So thanks for watching. Let's cap this thing off. Thanks. Right, so that was some gameplay a little bit. And I just wanted to finish this off just by pointing out, not so much the flaw, but obviously the limitation is there are a few Famicom carts which are very tall that probably won't fit in here. I think the Koei strategy games, maybe Madara. But the thing is, they wouldn't fit in the NES anyway with a regular adapter because they would still be too tall. So that's not so much of a concern really for me. The only sort of non-standard cartridge that I have to show off, I guess, would be Spelunker, because you see it's got like a raised ridge on it. It's not quite the standard shape. So when you put it into here, it doesn't go quite flat. You can see there's a little bit of a lift there. It's a bit of pressure, but it doesn't seem to affect anything. I've played this on the NES. It works fine. So in terms of non-standard carts, it seems fine. But ideally, you know, it's meant for standard Famicom carts that don't have any weird edges on them or anything like that. And it lines up nice and smooth and flat. And I'm super happy with it. Like, in terms of recommending a Famicom adapter, this is maybe $5 or so more expensive than the kind of adapters that the Hyperkin puts out, or you can get Chinese clones that are probably even cheaper than this. But I think the trade-off is replacing the ribbon with hard plastic. And just the aesthetics of this, I think, are much nicer than the traditional adapter. So I just want to pass this along because I'm actually really super happy with this. This is definitely the way I'm going to be playing my Famicom games now, because I can benefit from using my wireless controller. I can sit back from the TV. It is so nice. So thanks for sticking with me, and thanks for watching the video, and have happy holidays. Cheers.